Hello there, and welcome to In My Opinion for Remothered Tormented Fathers. You play as Rosemary Reed, a woman looking to find answers about the missing daughter of Richard Felton. Reed poses as the doctor to get a meeting with Felton, but he finds out she's lying and flips, then proceeds to kick her out the house. Reed, not willing to give up, is able to sneak back into the house, only to find out that Mr. Felton is not all there. Now Reed must find her way away from this psychopath, and along the way she might find some of her answers and more. The tone here is rather dark, and the game does a good job slowly unraveling the mystery and keeping your interest till the very end. I will say, even though the game's cutscenes do a fine job at giving you the basic understanding of what is happening, you will need to find some of the collectible documents to have the best understanding of what's going on, and since they are easy to find, it's not much of a problem. Our lead Reed isn't a bad character either, as even though she does come off tough during conversations, when put in the terrifying situation she's in, she still acts like a normal person would, making her believable. I won't spoil the ending, but I will say the tone kind of clashed with the rest of the game and came off rather corny. It didn't kill everything I just experienced, but it felt so oddly executed. This one is a survival horror game with a focus on stealth and hiding more than combat. There is a psycho roaming the house as you explore all the floors, and if they hear or see you, they will chase you and try to kill you. The game does give you the option to walk or run, though running does make you an easier target as the psycho can hear you even if you're not on the same floor. If the psycho has you in their sights, the game lets you know with the screen sides blinking red. And now it's your goal to find a hiding spot which is clearly labeled when you walk by it and lay low. When hiding, the game goes into sort of a mini game where you must keep the dot in the circle or else you will be caught and must run again. If you are seen right before you hide, the psycho will just pull you out. While being chased, the psycho can slash and grab you, dealing some damage, but the game does let you stock up on some defense items. There are 4 different items you can hold. The items in the normal 3 slots can be either thrown to stun the psycho or be placed to distract them in order to lure them to a certain spot. The last slot's for an item that helps you get out of a grab, avoiding some major damage. Though once it's wasted, it's gone. However, the item can be upgraded by finding certain spots in the house to either let your item be used multiple times or increase the stun time, giving you more time to find a hiding hole. These upgrade spots do have a finite use, so it won't be filling up again. The whole hide and seek aspect is pretty tense, and while you can't kill anyone, I do like that the game does give you some options to at least defend yourself, and when you do stun the psycho, I feel you're given more than enough time to run and find some place to hide. Even before you run into the psycho, you're given an audio cue when they hear you, and there's no stamina bar in the game, so you don't have to worry about that while running for your life. Though I will admit it's not all good, as you'll find yourself walking all the time, which is really slow, so you won't be heard. And while doing quick sprints does help, it's not always going to work. This in turn has you either taking forever to get to one place or hiding for the vast majority of the time, which can lead you to feel the game is dragging a bit. What adds to this issue is the game lacks any in-game map, so you can't plan out your destination if you can't remember exactly where the location of where you want to go is. A map would have been really helpful, and it makes no sense there's none here. I mean, it's basic survival horror fundamentals, just look at Silent Hill and Resident Evil. The game does contain puzzles, which are mainly of the environmental kind, such as finding a plunger to unclog the tub that then washes away a key which gets stuck under a grate that you must find out how to open. I actually enjoy these types of puzzles, and none of them are super hard to figure out, and the only time I was stumped was because I couldn't find the item I needed. Just a tip, really look around the rooms you're in, including above. There is what I guess would be called boss encounters, such as being chased in a narrow hallway by one of the psychos, here there is more than one, with a nail gun, or being locked up with a spirit, and both leaving it up to you to figure out how to escape. The game's save spots are kind of sparse, but I don't find that too much of a problem. It's more that you really have to remember where they are, since as I mentioned the game has no maps, so you can't recheck if you're desperately trying to save and heal, since the mirrors are the only way to heal as well. When healing, the mirrors crack, but thankfully that doesn't mean you can't come back later to the same mirror to heal if you want to, you just gotta wait a little bit. There are moments when the game does autosave, but it's very few. As I mentioned in the story section, there are little documents you can find around the house that do help expand on what's going on, with only like 1 or 2 that are missable. And the game lets you at some point have total freedom to explore the house with no fear of being attacked, so you can collect the others with no real problem. Just remember to save after collecting, since the game only counts it as collected if saved. If you die beforehand, you must collect it again. If you stepped away from the game for a bit and are worried you forgot what's going on or what you have to do, have no fear, as the game does offer a helpful menu that shows you the objectives you have done and still need to do, as well as the event section that gives you a little story summary. After beating the game, you do unlock the art of Remothered, which shows some of the artwork of the game, and looky here, there's a map. I wish that was in the game. The game does a great job of providing a horror atmosphere. The house itself is well creepy with some nice lighting to set the mood, and I like that even with your flashlight off, the game is still pretty visible, so it's not always mandatory to have it on. There are not a ton of characters, but with the few ones they have, their models have some nice detail to them. And I do like the multiple cycle designs, each giving off their own brand of, well, that's something I don't want to go near. When it comes to the voice acting, most of the cast put in a pretty good performance, even the old man who is clearly trying to do some sort of Mark Hamill voice. The only odd one is Ali that sounds a bit off. It's not that the acting itself is bad, but to me her voice doesn't fit her model. Technical wise, the game ran fine and only ran into one weird glitch, where I put in a real film and the game kinda spazzed out and made one voice from another cutscene playing on the cutscene that's supposed to come after.
A cup of tea or coffee, espresso?
No, thank you.
As you wish. How about you, Mr. Felton?
No, thank you. I'll keep entertaining our guest. You can go now.
You're diagnosed? 1958?
Yes, indicatively. Some friends and I contracted the disease while traveling to Egypt, and it got worse.
In addition to the disease, the first exam showed some inconsistency.
Even with some of the problems I had with the game, like no maps and the odd tone for the ending, I still enjoyed it. The story kept me interested to find out what happens next, and the gameplay was tense for the most part and gave a nice horror atmosphere. It took me about 5 or 6 hours to beat it, and if you're looking for replay value, well, there's none here. However, I still think if you enjoy horror video games and don't mind one that's more focused on running and hiding than shooting, then I would say give it a play, as the experience doesn't make you feel like you were tormented. I hope you enjoy my thoughts on this game, and for gamers' sake, keep gaming.